Okay, thank you again for joining us for the Real-Time Visibility for Mission Success featuring Sage Intacct webinar. My name is Melissa Waters, and I'm the Manager of Events and Programs here at JMT. And joining us today, we have Chris Radicone, a Client Account Manager, and Megan Mendiola, who is a Regional Marketing Coordinator with us. I wanted to go over a few housekeeping tips with you, and then I will switch it over to Megan and Chris. This webinar is being recorded, so we will share a copy of the recording and slides with you within 24 hours of the webinar. If you have any questions today, please make sure to submit them in the Q&A box of your control panel. And if time allows, we will answer those for you. If not, we will follow up with you after the webinar. And with that, I will turn it over to Megan and Chris.
Great, thanks so much, Missy. Like Missy just said, I'm a regional marketing coordinator here at JMT, and I just want to get started by telling you all a little bit more about who we are at JMT Consulting and how we serve nonprofits every day. So at JMT, your mission really is our business. And what does that mean? It means our entire business is dedicated to making sure your nonprofit achieves better outcomes through the technology and services that we provide. We work exclusively with nonprofit organizations and have so since we were founded in 1991. We are experts in the nonprofit space and can offer your organization personalized service while still partnering with the huge cutting-edge technology companies that we do. Here is a map of our current client base. We do have expansive reach with clients all across the country and 3 primary offices throughout the US in Austin, where Missy and I are based out of, Nashville, in New York, where Chris is based out of. We also have an office in Melbourne, Australia as of last year, so we are very excited to begin to expand internationally as well. And here is a snapshot of a few of our current clients. This is just a few of our clients, and we have over 2,000 total. You can see that we serve in all different nonprofit verticals, including FQHCs, community centers, and foundations. So I like to include this picture in case you recognize any of the incredible nonprofits pictured here, and really just want to say that we're proud to call all of these nonprofits and the ones that aren't pictured our clients just for the incredible work that they do on a daily basis. So these are the areas of the financial back office where we at JMT support nonprofits. And here are the software companies that we partner with to provide solutions in each of these areas. Today, we're going to focus in on Sage Intacct here as an ERP and discuss why it is such a great solution for nonprofits. Some information I'd like you to note before we get down into the details here is that Sage Intacct is the leading accounting and financial management software. It is also the first and only AICPA preferred financial management solution, and also is rated #1 in customer satisfaction by G2. So now let's go ahead and focus in on the dashboard functionality in Sage Intacct. A really great thing about Intacct is that it enables you to have dashboards for any user in the system and any person in your organization, no matter what their role may be. It also recognizes that each individual really plays a unique role in the organization and will want to look at different information within the system. Intacct allows you to set up different types of dashboards for each of these roles, which is incredibly useful. And we'll look at a few examples here, and I'll explain what that means in more detail. So here is an example screenshot of what a CFO dashboard might look like within Intacct. This is just a sample database we set up based on info we think a CFO might like to look at, but you can put any information on a dashboard that you would like. Whatever metrics or reports are important for you to view, you can add to your dashboard and completely customize it to your needs. So in this example here, we just added some things we believe a typical CFO might be interested in, but in no means is this what your dashboard as a CFO within Intacct would have to look like. So let's look at this example here. This CFO here is interested in important metrics like cash on hand, their operating margin, and other big picture information like surplus or deficit in their budget, which they can see right here at the top on these performance cards here within their dashboard. All this important information the CFO can access all here in one place. And from here, the CFO can also quickly drill down and see more detail in reports, which I know Chris will cover a little bit later, but you can see it right here on this dashboard example. You might also notice this CFO might be an approver in something like a purchase order workflow, which you can see right below the performance cards on the left-hand side here. There aren't any items in this sample database that are waiting to be approved by him or her right now, but if there were, they would all be sitting right here for him or her to view and approve right through the Intacct dashboard with the click of a button. So this again is just an example of some of the items that might be important to a CFO that they can access the moment they log into Intacct on their dashboard. Now, there are also other people within the same organization and even within the same department that might need access to different information on their dashboard. For instance, the controller will have their own items that they'd like to view in order to make their own decisions within the organization. So Sage Intacct solves for this as well. You can see here that you can access different dashboards within the same Intacct system. So if you look here under the dashboards, here's the CFO dashboard that we were just looking at. We have a couple other examples in our sample database here, but down here below under Contract Manager, you can see the controller dashboard is right here that you can click on. You can also prohibit users from seeing different dashboards if you want a private dashboard in any instance. In this case, in our sample database, we do have those all turned on. So let's go ahead and look at the controller dashboard here. So let's say the controller has this dashboard set and can see this information whenever they log into Intacct. Again, this is just the information that we put on this example controller dashboard, and it can be completely customized to fit your unique needs and the controller's unique role in the organization. This controller here wants to see a lot more detail than the CFO, which does make sense based on what the controller needs to do on a daily basis. This particular controller approves bills, which you can see right here at the top. It's a little different from the purchasing transactions than the CFO was approving, but the Q landing page is similar here. This controller can also see items such as cash balance right here on the right side of their screen, as well as operating expense or revenues by category on the left side of the screen, right here on their dashboard the moment they log into their Intacct system with one click of a button. So the point I want to make here is that everybody in the company that needs access to information in the system can set their own dashboard and create whatever reports or graphs or charts they want based on the data that is important to them in their unique role. There is no CFO or controller dashboard template that comes in Intacct that you absolutely have to use. So you're really able to create and customize it based on your unique needs and desires as an organization. And we at JMT are also here to help you create those within the Intacct system. We at JMT really believe strongly in enabling people in your organization who are outside of finance, but are still consumers of data to be empowered to make decisions with their own data. We're huge proponents of removing the burden of being the gatekeeper from the finance people in an organization. And that is a reason why we love Sage Intacct, because it enables people outside of finance who are still consumers of data, such as program managers, for instance, to access their own data without having to interrupt you in finance day in and day out to see how they're doing on their budget or what other information they may need to make decisions on a daily basis. Instead, we can set up these non-finance users with their own dashboards and then use security to limit them to see only what you want them to see. So let's look at an example of this and I'll explain in more detail. Here is another screenshot of a dashboard. And again, this is just a sample that we set up, but can really be customized to any non-finance user's needs within the Intacct system for whatever information they'll need to look at. But in this particular example, let's just imagine for a second that we are a nonprofit clinic of some sort, and we have practice managers or clinicians, and each of them care to view very specific things within the system in order to make decisions. Right here in this particular dashboard, it is a much simpler dashboard than what we saw for the CFO or controller, but it's critical information that this clinic manager would care about. You can see that they can see number of patients served, number of office visits, as well as their revenue sources over here, as well as patients per practice area. So again, this is a dashboard for someone in a non-finance role, which you can customize to show them only what they would need to see and nothing else. To give dashboard access to a non-finance user in Intacct is priced very attractively through Intacct with what they call their employee user license, and we can discuss that in further detail with you individually. Sage Intacct, like JMT, believes strongly in empowering all people in your organization with information and then giving them the ability to just log in and have access to that information immediately, which is really important in the ability to make data-driven decisions for your organization as a whole. So I hope this gives you a better understanding of the dashboard features in Sage Intacct. Now I'll go ahead and turn it over to Chris so he can give us some more information on reporting within Intacct.
Great, thank you, Megan. Again, my name is Chris Radicone and I am the Client Account Manager, or CAM, for all of the Sage Intacct clients. So I really want to welcome you all and thank you for joining us. When it comes to transparency, the ability to have dashboards and real-time reporting is actually one of the most critically important functions that Sage Intacct provides. Now, not only can Intacct give you real-time financial data, but it can also provide users access to non-financial statistical metrics as well. But let's put a pin in that for just a moment. If we go back to what Megan demonstrated just a few moments ago, thank you. Here we have an example of a statement of revenue and expenditure report from the controller dashboard. Now let's take a look at something. Notice we have an item circled in red for $17,000. Now you can see that's just about over the budget that we had planned. So now you're doing some analysis because, hey, you want to understand what's going on. Well, this is no problem because you could simply just click on that blue hyperlink. And what that does, it allows you to drill down, dig deeper, and analyze the why. Now let's just take a beat and let's talk about the why for just a moment, because the why is what we all really want to know. Real-time reporting and dashboards gives you context, the ability to understand. Your ERP should not be working against you. You should not be struggling or worrying about the integrity of your data. You're not software engineers, you're accountants. Your role is to analyze and to understand. You're financial detectives. You provide mission-critical data of the overall health of the organization. So your ERP should not be asking you, or you should not be asking your ERP, how do I do this? But why is this? So let's go back. Now what you see here, by clicking that hyperlink, this takes you to a list of all the individual transactions that makes up that $17,000 number. Now on that report, and then within those numbers, you can click in, drill down, and see the source transactions. Now, Intacct is always updating in real time. So as transactions are being booked, the data will reflect those changes as they occur. So for argument's sake, let's just say you're sitting at your desk, maybe you're eating lunch, you're reading emails, or maybe you're just staring blankly at your screen, twiddling your thumbs while someone goes on and on about ERP. Well, don't worry, we all do this. And so let's say while during this time you haven't looked at your dashboard for about 10, 15 minutes. Well, you can simply hit refresh because it's browser-based and a true native cloud solution. Intacct will update any of the transactions that have occurred in the interim, and you can easily drill down and grab the latest and greatest data that you need. Again, the name of the game here is ease of use. That data is flowing from any of the many integrated systems, such as your donation platform, your CRM, or all the other solutions that your organization has implemented to work with your financial system. Honestly, I could talk about Intacct's open APIs for a bit, but let's save that for another day and talk about the non-financial data that is flowing through your ERP. You remember that pin from earlier? Well, let's take a look at it. Intacct's ability to look beyond the dollars and cents. That's one of its other true fantastic roles as a system within your organization. In another one of Megan's earlier examples of role-based dashboards, we see that Intacct tracks more than just information important to finance, but also statistical accounts as well. So in this example, you can see that they're actually tracking a couple of things. Numbers of patients served, number of office visits, the number of clinicians, and then critically here at the bottom, This is a computation of the revenue generated per clinician. This is a very important number for this organization because it allows them to understand, again, within context, how much revenue is generated by each clinician, which then informs their decision about how many clinicians to hire. What's great is all this is occurring within the system. You no longer have to dump data into an Excel spreadsheet, wasting time with manual processes. Sage Intacct does that for you. This helps you plan better. It helps you be strategic, and rather than playing defense or being reactive, these metrics allow you to be productive. And with how quickly things change from day to day these days, you can end up, this information can end up being paramount to the overall success to your organization. So all this data is, like I said, all this data is being updated in real time. And it is front and center on your dashboards. It's also in any of the many numerous reports that you want to run within Intacct. Again, this is such a powerful, powerful system. And it covers you from beginning to end, from financial to non-financial. And it is certainly a system that you would want to implement if you want to be successful. Thank you again. Thank you for joining us. I'm now going to turn it right back around to Megan.
Thanks so much, Chris. That was great. And Missy, do we have any questions that have come up so far?
We don't, so we can keep it open for another minute or so and see if we have any questions come in, and if not, we'll give people some time back in their day.
Yeah, that'll be great. And in the meantime, I know a lot of times you need some time to process this information, and questions might come up after the webinar has concluded. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what the follow-up process will look like from here. So we're just going to follow up with you after today's webinar to connect and have a more personalized discussion about Sage Intacct and your unique needs as an organization to see if there's a fit there. And if there is, the next steps is to set up a quick assessment with our nonprofit experts. This takes about 30 minutes where we'll go through your current processes as well as how Sage Intacct could solve for those. And then the session will ultimately result in a summary of findings, which is a document outlining what we discovered and what path forward we recommend. This is completely complimentary on JMT because we just really want to connect with you and see how we can serve your nonprofit best. So we'll have someone following up with you after the conclusion of today's webinar this afternoon or tomorrow. So if there are any questions that come up in the meantime, we will be able to get those answered for you. So I just want to let everyone know about that.
Wonderful. We had a few people join us a little bit late. So for those that did join us late, we are recording this and you will get a copy of the recording. No questions have come in. So Megan and Chris, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And please, if you're interested in more webinars that we have, you can visit jmtconsulting.com and go to our events page. We have some financial planning and analysis webinars coming up on the 13th of October, as well as a nonprofit mergers strategic tool during the pandemic expert speaker series that you can join us for on October 21st. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you Chris and Megan, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks everyone.